Hey folks, Josh Reeves here to remind you that the Global Reality is a 100% publicly funded operation that relies on the monthly support of our listeners for survival. We don't have paid advertisements or commercial sponsors who can ever dictate the content of our work. Donations can be made through PayPal by using my PayPal email address, dayglow76@yahoo.com. That's dayglow76@yahoo.com. Or on the Cash App by using the cash tag Reeves Radio. All lowercase, one word, Reeves Radio on the Cash App. You can also purchase all of my work in my download store with all the films, audiobooks, and presentations I have made. And purchasing these items also helps us survive. You can also purchase a membership for the show and access years of archived shows. Support true grassroots media and activism, not beholden to commercial sponsors. We can't survive without you, so show your support today.
Since 2007, one man has dared to expose the sinister power players on all sides of the phony political spectrum. Armed with over 30 years of research knowledge of the paranormal, government conspiracies, geopolitics, secret and ancient societies, the esoteric arts, and much more. One man's quest for knowledge has become a mission for the enlightenment of all people. Broadcasting from the conspiracy ground zero of Dallas, Texas, this is the Global Reality with your host, Josh Reeves.
Yes, indeed. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the broadcast. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. It is Tuesday, September 26th, 2023. And 16 years ago today, on this day, the very first episode number 1 of the Global Reality with Josh Reeves aired. And so today is our 16-year anniversary, guys. And, what can I say, man? You know, I'm still over here languishing in virtual obscurity for the past 16 years. But you know what? That's okay. I don't care. I don't mind. You know, you can't take away from me the fact that this show has been broadcasting for 16 years. I've been on air longer than Joe Rogan or any of the other podcasters. Podcasting wasn't even around. It wasn't even a thing when I started. Internet radio was the thing. I've never called myself a podcaster or considered myself that because I predate that. And I predate the rise of podcasting. You know, that's why when somebody asks me if I'm a podcaster, I don't call myself a podcaster or consider myself that. I consider myself an internet radio broadcaster because that's where I began. That's where I started. I did not, like everybody else out there doing a podcast, start out and, you know, I only ever really technically ever became a podcaster because I started the Podbean account that we have where we put all these shows up at. I started that in 2012 as a way to archive the streams for the live broadcasts that I was doing during that time. So, that's the one thing, you know, I'd rather someone call me a conspiracy theorist than to call me a podcaster. Seriously. Because I just don't consider myself that. I never have. Now, had I started doing this show after podcasting became a thing, maybe, and yes, I know people will quit, well, podcasting was around 2007. Nah, not really. it wasn't a thing yet. There weren't podcasting sites or places where you could upload shows and do play. There was a couple of, French people doing it. I think they were doing it on like Linux and shit. I think Adam Curry, the guy who used to be on MTV, is considered to be the first podcast or whatever, but it wasn't a thing. There wasn't podcast sites. Apple didn't host them on their website. It wasn't a term that was used and known in the nomenclature. You got to remember 2007. I mean, I remember even the earliest days of the show, the big problem even then when I would do them on shoutcast streams on the networks I was on, the big problem even then was storage space and storage capacity for all these shows. That's why there's no copies of any of the full shows of this show from like the first, 4 years or something. There's no, I don't have any of the early shows, and I wish I did. I mean, I have a few here and there. Some of the interview ones I have. Like I interviewed Jim Mars twice. I think those are out there. A lot of the interviews and stuff I did, but full shows and stuff are not. Because I interviewed all the big names in the conspiracy world, just pretty much right out of the gates when I started the show. I remember people saying at the time, "How's this guy get all these big guests? And he's not even known." Well, it was just, just no matter knowing how to talk to people. And some of them knew, like Jim Mars already knew who I was and stuff, I interviewed Jim Mars twice in the early days of the show. Once for his book, The Terror Conspiracy, I believe it was. And the other one was Rise of the Fourth Reich. I did interviews with Jim. It's so ironic that I ended up later exposing him for his connections to Scientology and Spellcasters Volume 1 because, he was a lot of the reason I got into this stuff initially. It's definitely how I found out about the rock wall from reading his book, Ruled by Secrecy, where he just briefly mentions it in there. I saw Jim about, a year or so before he died. I was vending crystals and stuff at a steampunk event. It wasn't in Dallas. It's kind of out in the sticks, but, and Jim was there. He had a table set up. I never did find out exactly what he was doing there, but I was vending at this steampunk fair, and Jim was there too as a guest. He had a table set up. His table was down from mine, so I'd go over and talk to him and stuff, and I was like, Jim, what is Jim Mars and Josh Reeves doing at a steampunk event? I don't know. And I told him about the Rockwall movie, All Secrets of Ancient America Volume 1, because I had them for sale at my table with the crystals and stuff, and he was that you? I heard about that movie. I didn't know that was you, Josh. So I gave him a copy, and he was excited. I never talked to him again or found out if he watched it or liked it or anything, but, that was a cool thing for me to do. This was back in like 2014. It was just a cool thing for me. So this is well before I got to the Spellcaster stuff where I found out about his connections to Scientology and all that. But, it was a cool thing to do, kind of a full circle thing because, he was the guy. I mean, you gotta understand the first conspiracy book I read, I always say it in my bio when I go on these shows, but it's true. I mean, the first book I read on any of this stuff, conspiracy-wise, was Jim Mars' Crossfire, because when the Oliver Stone JFK movie came out, I saw that in the credits for the movie. And so I went immediately to try to find this book, and it turned out they had it in the school library at this podunk ass out in the fucking sticks school I went to. And they had it there. And I ended up reading it I did a book report on it like 4 different times. And the still fucking dumbass teachers were so stupid they never even noticed. And I got like 100 on it every time because, I knew it. I'd already read it on my own and then read it, do the book report. So I knew all the info in this book, front to back. And so I never got caught. I did, 4 or 5 times I did a book report on this fucking on Crossfire by Jim Morris in high school. Isn't that crazy? So it was a cool full circle moment for me too. You know, since I found out about the Rockwall at all from reading his book Rule by Crossfire and Rule by Crossfire, Rule by Secrecy. I'm sorry, Rule by Secrecy in 2004. That was when I first found out about the Rockwall. And I remember the first time I asked Jim about it was in 2006, 2007. We had a 9/11 Truth event here in Dallas, and Jim came out and spoke at it and stuff. And I remember him saying at the time, "No, I don't know anything else about it, but you know, if you find out anything about it, let me know, okay?" So. So I did. I that's what I told him. I remember I told him the last time I saw him, I told him, I was like, "Look, man, you told me, you know, when you came out to our 9/11 event that time, he goes, oh, that was your group?" I was like, yeah. And I was like, "You told me if I ever found anything on the Rockwall, knew something wrong, I'd let you know." He's like, yeah, did you? I was like, yeah, I did. I made this movie about it, you know. And the second one's coming out soon. At that time, the second one hadn't come out yet. And he was like, "Oh, okay. Oh, God, give me that. Give it to me. I want to see that." So, but, you know, he did, you know, even before that, Jim did take me aside one time and tell me, and I took it to heart, you know, regardless of what I ended up finding about him later and all that. I took it to heart because he, you know, he told me him and again, you can say what you want about this guy. I know a lot of people, have a lot to say about Jordan Maxwell, but one thing you can't say about Jordan Maxwell is you can't say he wasn't one of the originators of this stuff, you know. But that's the whole reason why I quit having guests on. There just wasn't anybody, you know, I felt was trustworthy anymore. But, you know, Jim did take me aside one time and tell me, "Josh, it's up to you, man." And Jordan Maxwell told me something similar too once. But, you know, Jim told me, he said, "It's up to you." He passed the torch to me, man. I don't talk about that or tout that a lot. Not as much as I should, but literally, guys, this is not a line or a joke or something I'm saying to try to inflate myself or make myself seem better than I am or anything. It's not. It's just the plain fact. Both Jim Mars and Jordan Maxwell separately, both, on more than one occasion, passed the torch to me. They did. Jim said specifically, "Josh, listen, when we're gone, there's nobody else coming behind us. You got to keep this going. You got to continue this." And listen to me, man. I get emotional talking about it because it means so much to me. You know, regardless of what you might say about Jim Mars or Jordan Maxwell or anything else, again, those guys were you know, those are the founding fathers, man. I take that shit seriously. Those guys were, you know, they were. Whatever you want to say about them, about their legacy or whatever else, you know, or connections to things. Regardless of all of that, those two guys were two of the founding fathers, and they both separately on different occasions said to me, "It's up to you, Josh. You got to keep this going. It's up to you to continue this. There's nobody else coming behind us. You're the man. You got to do it." And you know, I took that shit seriously when they said it. Still do. And that's why I'm here, and I'm here for those reasons, but I'm also here because of you. And especially those of you who contribute and donate on the regular, and, you know, keep us going here. I only have my life because of you. And yes, my life is you know, it's filled with a lot of heartache and misery and, you know, zero love and you know, it's tough most of the time, but that's what life is. But nonetheless, all that aside, I'm grateful more than anything else. More than I am sad or lonely or or remorseful or anything else. I'm grateful. Because, my God, when you look at the people that have come and gone in the time I've been doing this, it's amazing. People you know, and people who are big names, even people like Michael Tessarian. I mean, where's he now? You know what I mean? So many people have come and gone in the time I've been doing this, and the fact that I'm still here is a testament not only to the fact that I dedicate every waking moment to this stuff, but also to those of you like Tony, you know, and Michael in the UK, and, you know, a few others who bust their fucking asses to contribute to help make sure that this work continues. And you guys are a part of the legacy of this show. All of you who contribute and donate and help us keep from going under and make sacrifices in your own lives to, you know, financially to help this work continue. You guys are the unsung heroes of the work that I do. You are, truly. And I would not be here today on the 16-year anniversary doing this without each and every one of you, like Michael in the UK and fucking Tony. Fucking Tony is a goddamn fucking hero. He contributed $100 today. He's the only person who's contributed for our 16-year anniversary so far. And, you know, I literally hadn't had anything to eat until today because I had to spend every penny that we got to keep the internet and the power from being shut off and keep stuff. So I haven't had even money to buy any food for the past few days. Been trying to sell downloads and all that stuff, but you know. But anyway, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for everything I've got to do, and I'm going to continue to do with this work. You know, and that brings me to another subject I'll mention in a minute. But I really am. I'm grateful to everybody. I'm grateful for, you know, to have a roof over my head and not be homeless and have a place to broadcast this show and make the films. And yeah, it's tough, but life is tough, and it's never not gonna be tough. I don't know. I that's why high school became such a joke for me by the time I was like 16. Because I was, you know, by the time I was 16, I was working 3 jobs, playing in a band, juggling a girlfriend. You know, I knew, even then at 16, I knew that I was going to be doing 2 things for the rest of my life. Busting my ass trying to make it. Busting my ass trying to learn as much as I could of the things I knew they were never going to teach me in that fucking schoolhouse. And, you know, that's what I've continued to do, you know. And here we are, man, 16 years later. Listen, I got to tell you guys, it may not seem like much to some of you, but this is a big thing. 16 years of this show continue. That's huge. I mean, there aren't very many talk shows in general, you can say, especially with the one we ever had one host, that have gone on for 16 years. Certainly not in the internet age. I mean, I don't know who's been doing it longer or whatever, but I mean, Alex Jones I don't count because Alex Jones was doing it on regular radio and shit for a long time. So he's definitely, you know, he was doing it even before 9/11, so he's, you know, he was on radio and stuff. I don't count that. I mean, just strictly internet. Just strictly internet, like shoutcast streams and even podcasting stuff. Who's been doing it longer than me? And especially who's been doing it longer in the conspiracy genre and what I do? Nobody. But that also brings me to another thing I'm going to mention in a minute. But it's a big deal, man. It's an accomplishment. And, you know, I've made 6 films this year so far. More on the way. And that brings me to something else, too, that I mentioned a couple of shows ago. I misspoke about something. I'm not sure what motivated me to say this. But I mentioned I wasn't going to be making any more conspiracy films after Fall the movie and all that. I rethought about that. I really misspoke when it came to that. Because, and I'll tell you why. I have a bad habit sometimes, and maybe we all do, of unintentionally attempting to do to myself what I complain about other people doing to me, which is trying to make me fit into a category or a box. I've been battling that, since I was a teenager, since I first started playing music and playing in bands and stuff. Because it's always been this way for me, whether it's music or whether it's what I do with this work. It doesn't matter. I've never been able to be classified or put in a box. Like, I don't even consider myself a conspiracy theorist because I don't theorize about any. None of the stuff I'm putting these, I don't. If I'm going to theorize or say, okay, this is my theory, I'll tell you that. It's just that's the nomenclature and the most identifiable term that people can understand. I don't even like calling myself that. I consider myself just a researcher in general, and a filmmaker and a musician. But, people always used to ask me when I first started playing music, you're in a band, or you're a musician. What type of music do you play? I hate that question more than anything else. I just play music, man. Does it fucking matter? I don't know. I don't know how to define. Because people always say, you play in a band, huh? What kind of music? Music. It's just music, man. I hate that when people ask me, what kind of music you like? What kind of music you listen to? I just listen to music. Whatever's good. Who gives a fuck what kind it is? It's fucking music. Music's great. I listen to all kinds of different music. There's not one type of music that I only listen to. My God, you should see my record collection. You'll find all kinds of wild stuff in there. You'll find everything from fucking, the expected rock stuff that I'm into, like Led Zeppelin and Rush and Queen and stuff like that. But you also find, Wu-Tang Clan or fucking Gladys Knight and the Pips, or fucking Barry White. I listen to all Hank Williams Sr. I listen to it all. I listen to music. So I always hated that. Because when the first band I was in back in the 90s, or you always say, I heard somebody talking shit one time. They didn't know I was there. Yeah. That band's cool and everything. I don't understand why they sound like a punk rock band with Rod Stewart singing. Hey, guilty as charged. Listen, I never wanted to be a singer, okay? I never had any aspirations as a young, just like I never wanted to be a fucking radio host or talk show host or anything like that. I didn't want to be either one of those things. I got, pushed into the role and I took it and I learned how to do it. Really, being a show host or a radio host and being a singer, I really came to both those things pretty much kind of the same way, and I kind of had to learn how to do them. And so, yeah, in the early days when I was learning how to sing, I was going through my record collection and I was grabbing whoever the best singers were, and I was listening to that. I taught myself how to sing by listening to the records. Yeah, Rod Stewart was one of them, definitely. I love Rod Stewart. What the fuck are you talking about? Early Faces stuff, you came to Jeff Beck group stuff. Oh, holy fuck, man. But yeah, all those guys. Rod Stewart, Elton John, Freddie Mercury, Geddy Lee, anybody that could sing, those are the guys that I was listening. Yeah, I was listening to all that because I was trying to learn how to sing because I got pushed into these situations where I was in these bands and I was the only guy who had any, hey, I heard you singing fucking Rocket Man when it was on the radio one time or whatever, fucking singing Mandolin Wind. Hey, you could sing, motherfucker. Get up there, dude. I got pushed into those roles, But my point is that I never like it, and I have never liked it. Still don't like it when anyone tries to make me fit into a box where they're trying to define you or classify you, or, you know what I mean? It's just so they can fit you, what you do, into the already predetermined definitions they have in their head. So, I think because we get conditioned sometimes by conforming to other people's wants and needs, sometimes we do it to ourselves unnecessarily, and not because we mean to, because we just get conditioned by swimming in those waters. You know what I mean? I find myself doing that sometimes myself, you know, trying to compromise with what I do like I would if I was in a team situation like I was in the past, like either working, you know, at a job or in a band. But I don't have to do that. I don't have to have that attitude with what I do with this, because there's nobody, you know, there's this is not a team effort situation other than the people out there who bust their ass like Tony and others to make sure we, you know, I consider that part of it a team, you know. But I'm just saying, as far as like the choices I make for the films and that I make and all this, I don't have to bounce or workshop that with anybody or compromise that with anybody. But sometimes I still find myself kind of trying to do that. And so I mentioned a few shows ago, I said I wasn't going to make any more conspiracy films or whatever after Fall of the Movie or whatever. Listen, that was just an incorrect, wrong thing to say. And by doing that, you know what I was doing? I was putting myself in that goddamn box that everybody's tried to put me in my whole life. Where I'm easy to classify and identify and all that, and listen, and define or whatever. That was wrong. That was just a incorrect, wrong statement to make. I shouldn't have said that. I take it back. I apologize. I shouldn't have said that, because it is true. And yes, I am going to make films on different topics, but so what? What I do is what I do. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what topic it is. I'm a filmmaker. I've made 16 films. I'll have 18 out before the end of the year. So, I am going to continue to make films, and who cares what topics they're on? They can be about fucking reptilian blood drinker, baby eaters, or it could be on fucking hyperthymesia. Like I said, I'm going to make a film about that later on sometime. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? What I do is what I do. And I had the same similar realization. I can't remember if it was at the end of last year, the first of this year, when I announced I was going to be doing another music project. Besides the Josh Reeves band, I was going to do some different types of, you know, music, electronics. Not electronic. I hate to even saying electronic. Not electronic music, not like EDM or fucking rave music or something. You know, just music with synthesizers and stuff. And I realized that was an incorrect statement to make too, and I canceled. I'm not doing that other music project anymore. Because why should I? Dude, you don't have a band. The Josh Reeves band is you. It's me. You know what I'm saying? I am the Josh Reeves band. So I can do whatever music I want to do under the banner of the Josh Reeves band. It doesn't matter what style it is. If I want to do an album of, you know, instrumental music that's just for smoking weed and chilling out or relaxing, I can do that. It doesn't matter. You see what I'm saying? I don't have to start a separate music project for that. Why should I? I can, you know, I can define it however I want to define it. Well, I came to the same realization about making films. I've just made the films on the topics I've made the films about, because that's what I do, and that's what I'm into, and that's what I spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week working on. So of course all my films would be, but it doesn't have to be all I do, and I don't have to stop doing one to do the other. You understand what I mean? Like, just because I want to do some other stuff, okay, do some other stuff, fine. But it doesn't mean I have to fucking put a bullet in the back of the head of everything I've done before now, does it? No, it doesn't at all. So that was a premature, just wrong thing for me to say a couple of shows. I'm not going to stop making documentaries of any kind. I'm just going to keep making films, and whatever they're about, that's what they're about. You know what I mean? And if I want to make a film that's a quote-unquote conspiracy film, and then the next one is a not, that's what I'll do. You know what I mean? I don't know why I do that. I caught myself and I realized that, well, you know what? You're just doing to yourself what you complain about other people trying to do to you. You're trying to make yourself fit in some unnecessary box. You don't have to do that. None of us have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Again, that's the things you get conditioned to do when you're working in an environment that you don't control. If you're working for a boss or working on a team, or you're working for a band, you're in a band or something. But I don't have to do that on my own. There's nobody dictating to me what I do or don't do with this work. I can do anything I want with this work. Same with music. I don't have to start some separate project with a new name or something just to do a different music project. No, I don't have to do that. Well, I don't have to do that with films either. And so I'm just going to keep making films. And whatever they're about, they're about. Because at this point, really I'm making them for me. Because it's not like we sell. I mean, my God, I've had, 2 weeks now since Aliens or Nah has been out. I really, really did think this was going to be a huge seller for me. And just, we're just not selling the same amount of copies we used to sell a couple of years ago. Because of the economy and fucking Biden and everything else. But, the quality of the work I'm doing is better than it ever has been. Aliens or Nah, you can get the extended edition now in the download store too. It's my best work. All the stuff I made this year has been my best work. I feel like I've done the bulk of the best work I've ever done, has all been this year. And yes, you heard me right. I am going to have 2 more films out this year. I got another one. I'm working on another one right now. So what happened was, someone emailed me and asked me about what I think is going to be the end game, what is going to happen with all of this AI stuff and everything. And I told them, and they freaked the fuck out. They were like, holy shit, dude. I never heard you talk about that before. I'm like, yeah, I don't really. I mean, I have. I talk about AI stuff all the time, right? But, specifically what I told them I think the end game, whatever it's going to be, they're like, holy fucking shit, dude. You really believe that's me? Yeah. Well, how come you haven't made a movie about that? I don't know. It's a good question. So, AI apocalypse, yeah. I got a new film coming. Hope to have it done the next week or so. The AI apocalypse. Listen, I gotta be honest with you. I was thinking, why hadn't I ever made a film like this? Well, I've been busy with other projects, number one. Number two, really, there's no way to stick a soft landing with this info. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's one thing I've always intentionally never done, is I've never put out sensationalist info, fear-mongering info. I'll leave that to Alex Jones and others, but with this stuff, there's just no way of presenting it without, because it's scary shit. There's just no way of presenting it without it being, scary. There just isn't, But I laid out to this person, this is what I think, this is how I think it's going to go. They're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do this. And then that's when they're going to roll this out. And the person was like, holy fucking shit, I've never heard you say that before. So yeah, AI Apocalypse. I'm making a movie called that. Hope to have it out maybe the next week or so. Again, this is our 16-year anniversary, guys. We got the 16-year anniversary fundraiser going on right now. That's the campaign page. You can find the links to wherever you're listening to the show. There should be links close by to find. This amount represents everything we need to pay the operating costs for this month. Get some small equipment upgrades in here. Get a press release for Aliens Are Not done and out there, so we can get more people in to buy that. And finish Fall the movie. The amount we're trying to raise this month for our fundraiser, that will encompass all of those things. So please help us reach 100% and get that. I tried doing an Ask Me Anything for this show. Put out stuff. I talked about it on here. As of the beginning of the recording of this show tonight, we got one. So I'll get into that later. It's frustrating, you know. Ask people to participate, giving people an opportunity to participate, and they don't. The same thing on ask people, hey, send in your submissions for films. What films would you like to see me make? Got one person to send one in. It's ridiculous. I try to make it fun and interactive and let you guys have a say, and, you know. So here's what we're going to do. Well, I'm going to extend the Ask Me Anything to tomorrow. So, if you want to get an Ask Me Anything question in for the next show, then we'll go ahead and send them in. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. And, I'll get your Ask Me Anything questions going. But, what I was serious about, though, about not going and doing any more shows after the next time I'm on Coast to Coast AM, I don't know. I don't know if I will 100% stick to that, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to stick to that pretty close. I'm just done doing these shows, man. Because they're just, you know. Last time I went on Coast in January, I sold 10 copies. That's when I knew, okay, this is over. People are not listen to the show like they used to. But anyway, regards to that, with that said, pretty fitting that I found out today I heard from Chris Boros, the producer at Coast to Coast AM. He says, Josh, do you care to join us again for Coast to Coast AM with Richard Serrett? Saturday, October 28th. The second half of the show from midnight to 2 a.m. Pacific. Oh, which means 2 to 4 a.m. my time. Great. I emailed him back and said yes. And he said, perfection, confirmed. Excellent. Thanks, Chris. So there you go. Saturday, October 28th, 2023. Second guest on the show, on the Saturday night show, is Josh Reeves. I'll be on there talking about all my films I made this year. I hope we get to, I really want to push, I'll tell Richard too beforehand, I really want to push Aliens Are Not on there, because I think with Coast's audience, that of all the stuff I've made definitely has the most potential to make a lot of sales. But yeah, I don't know if I'll be doing any shows anymore after that, because they're just not, they're helping the people whose show I go on. They don't help me at all. There's got to be some reciprocating going on there for that. That's how it's supposed to work, you know. It's supposed to be they bring eyes and ears into the whoever show it is, and it's supposed to bring sales to the person who's promoting something. And when that breaks down and doesn't work anymore, there's no reason to do it. And, you know, I could be spending that time working on my own stuff instead of going on these shows that are doing absolutely nothing for me. I mean, to go on Coast to Coast AM and make 10 sales like I did in January, that's horrible. You know. But at the same time, I was a last minute guest. I was a replacement guest for someone that was booked. So I came in last minute so they wouldn't have a guest. It's different this time because I'll actually be, you know, promoted and booked ahead of time. I'm the actual scheduled guest. So So yeah, October 28th. So here's the plan. Like I said, the 16-year anniversary fundraiser that's going on right now. We need to reach 100% so we can pay the operating costs, make some small upgrades to some aging gear here, and replace some stuff that's gone out and died, power supplies and stuff, just stuff to enhance the quality of the show. Pay the operating costs, upgrades, and that'll give us everything we need to complete Fall the movie. So, seeing that Coast isn't until October 28th, if we reach 100% of our goal this month and we don't go under and I'm not on the street, which only happens with your support, guys, I will be able to complete Fall the movie before October 28th, my next Coast to Coast AM day. Yeah. Which is kind of how I was originally hoping it might happen, but I didn't think it would happen that way. Now that I have the potential for that to happen, because that could be huge. I mean, going on Coast on October 28th and, on what could be my final appearance on any show and having fucking 8 films to promote, including, Aliens or Not, and Fall Above You. It could be big, Really could. So everybody please dig deep this month and contribute. And like I said, we had to keep the power on the internet on. And thank you to Tony for contributing today, because I was able to actually get a meal before the show tonight. I don't know if I would have been able to do a show if I hadn't have a meal. I was not, I was not feeling very good from not having eaten in the past few days. So, anyway. Also on sale in the download store right now is my Billy's Back Fall series. This is the precursor to Fall the movie. It's an audiobook that I'm presenting as an audio-visual presentation. So it's an audiobook reading with commentary from me, as you've come to expect, but it's combined with music and visuals. First 3 parts are out right now in the download store. They're around 2 hours each. I'll have the rest of the parts out over the next month, leading up to Fall the movie. But yeah, that's the goal, man. We're keep from going under this month. Pay the operating costs. Get Fall the movie done for the 28th the next month. And keep going. The other project or thing I'm going to be working on over the next year or so, I had this idea a few years ago when I was working on Spellcasters, but I just kind of, put it on the shelf and didn't think about it. Just thought about it. I'll do it someday, but I'm going to start working on it now. I never announced or talked about it before because I didn't want anybody to take my idea, but now I don't just anybody around that would steal this idea anyway, so I'm going to do it. Listen, 16 years on the air, and like I was talking about earlier with, guys like Jim Mars and Jordan Maxwell passing the torch to me, the one thing that I feel like I need to do in this work with myself is to put my stamp on something definitive that I can hitch my wagon to. You know what I mean? The fact I've been on air for 16 years should be enough to be getting me attention and booked on shows. And in fact, I made 16 films, going on 18 films in 16 years. I mean, it's quite an accomplishment. But, I decided I need to do something to sort of like, put my stamp on something. And I decided I'm going to literally become the guy that literally wrote the book on conspiracies. I'm going to create something called the Reeves Encyclopedia of Conspiracy. The Reeves, I want this to become like the Bible of conspiracies, like a Funkin' Wagnall's fucking encyclopedia. So you know what I'm talking about? Webster's dictionary. I want it to be like that. It'll have everything, even the ones I don't agree with, or am into, or whatever. It'll have it all. And basically, I want it to be like a reference guide, a book, or something that it's trustworthy and has information from somebody who's studied all these topics and stuff. Me. But I want to create this thing, the Reeves, Encyclopedia of Conspiracies, and it'll have everything in it. And I want it to be like a, something people can have, like a coffee table book or something people can have in their library, people can have, as a reference source. I'd like to make an app out of it eventually, maybe even turn it into one of these audiovisual presentation things like I'm doing with this fall Billy's Bag thing. That's a possibility. But I want to really get this published. I want to try to get this to a real actual book publisher, and not just be something I put out on my own in the download store or something, which I will do too. But I want to work on getting this to an actual publisher and getting this actually published, and so you can buy it on Amazon or whatever. Because I sure as fuck am not getting in the business of printing books and mailing them out. Fuck that shit. Fuck no. Want no part of that. But yeah, I think it would be good, because eventually I know, I'm 47 now. I know, it's the law of diminishing returns. At some point, I'm not going to be able to, well, for a variety of reasons. Number one, eventually I'll have covered everything. Eventually I will have covered every topic. So, eventually I will run out of stuff. But no, I mean, at some point I want to be like how, some of these other old guys became. At some point I want it to be, not anytime soon, but I do at some point, in the future as I get older here. I mean, I'm knocking on 50's door here in a few years. Unbelievable. Holy fuck. 3 years away from being 50. That'll be here in no time. The way time moves nowadays. But I'd like to get to a point eventually where, maybe eventually one day, just go where I'm just going around and, appearing at conferences and doing talks and speaking engagements on all the work that I've done. You know what I mean? Instead of just doing the work and then trying to go on somebody's fucking show and hoping that the people that are listening to that show that day decide to buy your movie. I mean, I got to find some. That's what I'm working towards. I want to find some, continue to find better ways of giving my talents their best usage, Fuck, I'd love to be, well, maybe fucking Snorri will kick the bucket one of these days. I'd love to apply to be, the guy that takes over Coast to Coast AM after fucking Snorri leaves, but I'm sure it'll be somebody like George Knapp or, somebody they already have working for them or something. But I'd love something like that, I'd love for some radio station or network to come along and want to, which I'm surprised nobody ever has, to have a competing show that could have the potential to blow Coast to Coast AM away, you know. I feel like I really do feel like if I was running Coast to Coast AM, if I was like the guy that was doing shows over, you know, I could turn that ship around, man. I could write that fucking ship and turn that fucking place around. But, you know, I'd love an opportunity like that in the future, you know. Something to be like on a show like that or on a competing network or something like that, you know, where you're actually getting a paycheck and, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, man, I want to write the book on this info. I want it to be something that people have in their homes and people have, you know, especially if they have a question about something they think might not be legit. You grab this book, you flip to it, you look at it. I want to try and make it into an app eventually, even though I have no clue how to go about doing that. But wouldn't that be awesome, though? The Reeves Encyclopedia of Conspiracy. Have an app on your phone. Anytime you want to know something about, because I'll have every topic. You just go, and then you can do addendums to it later if you forget stuff, whatever. I don't know. I just feel like that's something that I have to do. You know, become. I'm already such an authority on so much of this info on these topics. You know, it's the same thing with what I told you about becoming an ordained minister. You know, I'm not a Christian or a Catholic or a Muslim or a fucking Jew or any, you know, man-made religion at all. We all know where the problem is not spirituality. The problem is man-made religions. So I wanted, you know, I've called myself an info evangelist for years. That's what I am, man. I'm an info evangelist. Let's make it official. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to think about ways of cementing my place in this work and making myself an official authority on, you know, these topics. I put so many years into it, and something I can continue to do into the future as we all do, age and get older, you know. And that's something I was never thinking about when I began doing this work. I was never thinking about the long term, anything with this stuff. I mean, yeah, remember, I never thought it was a shock for me that I lived past the age of 28. I really didn't think I was going to make it to age 28. Here I am, 47. I'm still here, you know, still fighting, still kicking ass. So, I never put a lot of thought into, because I think it's the same way as you're thinking about the past too much. You know, you think about the past too much, you think about the future too much, you miss out on the present, you know. And so I've never really thought about that. But the older I get, the more I realize, hey, you know, you got to start thinking about this long term and how do we continue this and make this work continue to work long term indefinitely. And it's going to require me to do some things, I don't know how, to get myself out there in a more mainstream way. Because nobody wants to, that's the thing about it, it's always been this way. One thing's never changed for me. Nobody, especially nobody who has real reach and a real platform, no one's ever wanted to give me any sort of, it's so weird. I felt that way when I was doing music too. It's very strange. So people seem to be very scared about me ever being successful. I don't know why. People have always treated me that way, like my success threatens them in some way. It's very weird. But certainly since I've been doing this work, it's been that way the whole time. Nobody that has any sort of, you know. But I look at some of these shows that I listen to, podcasts that I listen to or watch on YouTube, so I'm like, well, what makes that person qualified to go on that show or whatever? And most of the time it's It's just because they're having to be a comedian or something. It's like, dude, I'm funnier than half these motherfuckers. Half those fucking Joe Rogan lottery winner comics, half those guys aren't even fucking funny. There's so many of them. What am I going to do? Go try to become a stand-up comedian at 47 years old? I don't know if that's going to work. I mean, I could do it. I mean, I got material. I've been doing stand-up. I actually started doing stand-up comedy the same time I got into this stuff, 3rd grade. Yeah, it's true. It's not bullshit. 3rd grade, it was actually what made me want to become a musician eventually and perform in front of people at all. It was 3rd grade. We had the Scholastic Book Fair. You remember that, right? So I had my little money, and I went in there and the Scholastic Book Fair, and I used to love the book fair at school. I loved that. The smell of the paper and the books, that smell of the paper, and it just was unmistakable. And I remember I got a joke book that had jokes in it. And we went on Friday before school let out. And we had about, 10 minutes before the bell rang, school being out on Friday. So I went and asked the teacher if I could get up and run the class and read these jokes. And she said, yeah, go ahead. So I got there and did a tie 5 in front of the class. And I killed. I slayed. I remember one of the teachers from the other classrooms came by and stuck their head in because they could hear the roaring laughter coming down the hall, and they were wondering what was going on in this classroom. I was little me, man, little me. Fucking 9 years old, I was up there killing it, slaying with these jokes. I mean, murdering. Oh my God, it was unbelievable. I was murdering, and it felt so amazing. And I think that's what led me to, becoming out, because obviously I was the class clown. None of you have had to go to school with me to know that fact. Most of you, I think, can figure that out. Yeah, I was definitely always the fucking cut up and the class clown. But yeah, it was at that moment that eventually made me realize that I wanted to perform in front of people when I got older, because I straight murdered. And, but my point is, it's like I see people that are guests on shows, but like I can't get those same opportunities that they get to go on certain shows because I'm just seen as some conspiracy theory guy. So, well, with that said, balls, sports of the mafia in America. One true God, the unholy trinity on Jovulon and Freemasons. The Spellcasters, Volume 4. Safe but Deadly, the DDT myth exposed. Climate of Fear, the Club of Rome. And now the newest, Aliens or Nah, the complete guide to the fake alien invasion. 6 films this year, guys. They're all in my download store. Go get them. Actually, if you want to go back to even last year, even since last November, actually, it's 9 films so far that I've released in less than a year. Because at the end of last year, like October, November, December, I released Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 3, Spellcasters Volume 2, and Volume 3 at the end of last year. So really, in less than a year, I've released 9 films, with 2 more confirmed for sure coming this year. I hope to have the next one out next week or so, the AI one. Point is, though, I'm never going to quit. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm just going to keep making films on whatever I think is important and whatever I think needs to be made about. Because like I said, I asked people, hey, send in your Send in your suggestions. Only got one suggestion. It was not a conspiracy film at all, so or one that would make me any money at all, unfortunately. But the point is, I'm just going to keep doing what I've always done, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm not going to quit. But I can't do it without you. We are a team, whether you know it or not, and you're on my team. Those of you who do contribute and buy my films, again, you're the ones I care about. I can't force those other people out there to come along and join us, but what I can do is be grateful and thankful to those of you that actually do. And those of you that do buy my films and make donations and do everything you can to make sure we continue. I dedicate this show to you. And I love you guys. And I just appreciate you and appreciate your efforts. And I appreciate those of you who work as hard as I do to bring this information. I appreciate those of you who work equally hard to make sure we don't go under. And we need more of you to join us, okay? Join the team. What we're trying to do here, because it can't be done without you. And it is a unique thing. And anytime you get people who can contribute together to achieve something that is not based on, some control system or phony controlled bullshit, or beholden to commercial sponsors and stuff, and it's special. And what we have here with my work and this show, and it's a special thing, guys. You and me, we're part of something special here. Something I created out of nothing 16 years ago on this day. And, whether it's ever seen as that by the general public or not is not important. It's just important that we're continuing to do this work and trying to do what's right. Trying to make it like I said before on numerous interviews I've done. I don't have, and I never have had any sort of illusions that anything that I do is going to change the world for and all this. But it does in ways you don't realize that it does. You can change the world for one person by changing the way they think about something and the way they look at things. And in that respect, I have changed the world a million times over, because I can't tell you how many times I've been told that through the years, And that's all I hope to do, is just to contribute to everyone's own search for truth and while I'm on my own journey for the same. From the day one I started the show, that's been the goal, and it has not changed. That, you got to try. Doesn't matter that any one of us on our own will never change the world. That's crazy to think you could. But it's also crazy not to try and not put forth an effort to contribute. Trying to change things, or at least to show these motherfuckers, hey, y'all got away with this for a long time. Y'all got away with tricking people and lying to people, and those days are over. You're not going to get away with that anymore. And so, again, that's what I've always set out to do, is just to try to add to the conversation and add to the knowledge base in a meaningful way. That, again, because it's not about changing the world, but if you change someone's viewpoint, if you change the way someone thinks about something, you can change the world for one person. You know what I mean? And if somebody makes a big donation to my work, $500, $1,000 or something, you just changed the world. At least for me, that day. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you may not change the overall world or whatever, but you've still changed it for the day or for that moment or for somebody else, Taking that cover off this microphone. I have one of those wind cover things on there. It's sounding weird to me. Take it off. It's a little better. Anyway. So, again, dayglow76@yahoo.com if you want to use PayPal. Reeves Radio, all lowercase, one word, Reeves Radio on the Cash App. Or you can also use the campaign page for the 16-year anniversary fundraiser, all right? Now I'm thinking it sounded better with the cover on it. There we go. All right. Anyway, just do everything in your power this month, folks, in the next, to help us reach 100% of our 16-year anniversary fundraising goal. And I'm going to continue to do what I do, making these films, putting together all this stuff, doing these shows. Because with your help and us together as a team, again, we might not change the world, but maybe we change it in ways we don't even notice. And the things that I have done here over the 16 years of this show have made an impact. Maybe they haven't in big noticeable ways, but when these guys have to change around, I've seen stuff literally change because of my work, especially stuff around Lost Secrets of Ancient America, and they started pushing back dates on things. That was a direct result of the work I was doing. That was wild, and it is important, and you guys are important to me in doing this work. Like I said, couldn't do it without you, especially the ones who actually do contribute. But join us. We need more of you, please. If you've been on YouTube leaving comments, and you know who you are, for the past month or whatever, saying, I'm going to buy a bunch of downloads from you soon, or I'm going to donate $500, and please make good on your word and do that. And don't be one of these BS claimers that claim they're going to do that. Because what I figured out, the reason why I hate those people that do that so much, because they're liars. Number one, the people who do contribute, they don't have to make claims about it. They just do it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to leave a comment saying you're going to contribute if you are. Just contribute, and that'll be enough. Okay? This stuff where people, I'm going to buy $500 for the downloads, blah, 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 and then they never do all that. What that does is it makes people that see that think, this guy's doing something, so that means I don't have to. And what I've learned over time, there are a lot of people I think that do that on purpose, because they never end up coming through with anything they ever say. Nobody that's ever claimed they were going to do something big ever did it. The people who do big things for our work, they never say beforehand they're going to do it. They just fucking do it. And that's it. You know what I mean? And I've never had to go back and ask, hey, can you follow through with that thing you said you were going to do? Never once have I had to do that for any of those people. They just do it. And that's it. So those of you who have made those kind of claims, it's time for you to come through and make good on those claims. This month, this week, right now. All right? All right, well, let's get to the one Ask Me Anything question we have. We got one in. Oh, no, wait. Did we just get another one? Holy fuck, we might have just got another one in. Oh, I have two to go into now. Holy fucking shit. Looks like we might have just got another one. You know what I want to do, though? Because I'm not prepared. I just got another question. We have two. Here's what we're going to do. So we only got into, I'm going to give everybody else a chance to get your questions in for the Ask Me Anything. And we'll do those on the next show. I'll make the next show the Ask Me Anything for the 16-year anniversary, okay? So go ahead and send those in, globalrealityshow@gmail.com, and then I'll get prepared. Because, I like I said, I want to be prepared to answer these questions with proper responses, and I'm just not right now because they came in right before I started recording this. So, but yeah, send in your Ask Me Anything questions. We'll do them on the next show, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. It's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. Get those sent in, and I'll cover those on the next show. I'm trying to think. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about or cover here tonight? I'm skipping news. I'm not going to do any news tonight. We'll save that for the other shows the rest of the week. But yeah, get your Ask Me Anything questions in. We'll do those on the next show for sure. Again, all my new films, 6 this year so far. 2 more coming are out in the download store now. As well as the fall Billy's Back audiobook video presentation. First 3 parts are on sale in the download store now. Get those too. You donate by PayPal, dayglow76@yahoo.com. That's DAYGLOW76@yahoo.com on PayPal, and Reeves Radio on the Cash App. That's the cash tag, all lowercase, one word, Reeves Radio. And you can hit the download store. And I'll be making my 4th appearance on Coast to Coast AM Saturday, October 28th. Stoked about that. And, yeah, man, 16 years. Well, here's the 16 more. God. How would I be then? That's crazy. I was, 31 when I started this show? Wow, 31? I was just barely out of my 20s when I started the show. That's crazy. And I'm 47 now. In another 16 years, I'll be what? 63? That's fucking wild. In the same amount of time that's passed from the time I started the show, from right now, I'll be 63. That's fucking crazy. I started this when I was 31. Wow, the future's here, isn't it? It's kind of funny. It is funny to realize that sometimes, because when I first started the show, I was talking about the things that were coming in the future and whatnot. We're here now. The future's here now. All that AI and all the, supercomputers and the technocalypse and all that stuff I was talking about in the early days, it's not coming anymore. It's here. And I'm still here too, and so are you. And let's just keep it going, guys. Raise the glass. You're here. Alright, guys, that's it. We'll see you next time. Love you guys. Take care.